Let's tell you that the directive by the federal government to telcos to disconnect Nigerians who are yet to register and link their NIN to their SIM has been implemented. As it is, many Nigerians are now unable to use their lines to make calls. The government's directive was announced in a statement jointly signed earlier Monday by the Director of Public Affairs at the Nigerian Communications Commission, Ikechukwu Adinde, and the Head of Corporate Communications at the National Identity Management Commission, Kayode Adegoke. Over 125 million SIMs, according to the statement, have had their NINs submitted for linkage, verification, and authentication, and Nin-Sim has issued over 78 million unique NINs to date. The government explained that Nin-Sim linkage had been extended on multiple occasions to allow Nigerians freely comply with the policy. It added that the enrollment for NIN was a continuous exercise, as it was a precondition for service in telecommunication companies, banks, Nigerian Immigration Service, and several other government agencies. There are, according to the NCC, at least 72.8 million subscribers risk being disconnected from telecommunication services following the latest directive. Now, on the implication of this directive by the federal government, Public Affairs Analyst Dapo Adaramewa joins me now for more insight. He joins me to discuss this. Good to have you join us.
Good to be here. Thank you.
So let's look at this. The basic issue here is the fact that a lot of people have now been disconnected. In fact, I saw people who right now cannot make calls but can receive calls, which is a directive. On one hand, people feel like it wasn't an easy process because it was not a one-time process. I did mine. It wasn't one time. I think I did it. I went like 3 times before I could get my NIN. But the federal government is saying we gave 1 year since December 2020, and that's just enough time. What do you make of this?
I think the government has, acknowledged the fact that it was a turbulent start at the very beginning. When I did mine, I spent the whole day there, and I had to settle somebody in order to get it done. So it's a shame that they want to take this action at this point. I feel that given everything that's happened, they need to be a bit more considerate for Nigerians. A lot of people were put off by it in the first place because it was so difficult to acquire and often involved people having to pay extra as well. So I think it's fair for people to require a bit more time, I think.
So I hope you know when you say settle, you just admitted on national TV that you settled.
Yes.
And I hope you know that almost sounds like you gave bribe. But I understand the plight because a lot of people had to do that.
Yes.
A lot of people had to give to the staff there before it could even happen now, which is one of the challenges with the process because of the crowd we had there. But let's also look at the issue with the federal government said that this is for security.
Yes.
But we've had a lot of data collection. There is the national passport, which is international passport rather. There is the driver's license if you drive. I mean, there's just a lot of platforms where we already have a data. And then some people are worried about privacy. Some people are also worried about protection of this data. How do we go about this?
I think it's constantly a trade-off between security and privacy. In order for the government to secure you, in some cases, they need to intrude on your privacy. And I think it's something that Nigerians have to be conscious about. Now, the main issue we have is there's no central place where all this data is held. I don't know of any computers you can go on now and I check up somebody's driver's license as well as check up other details. So there's no central database. It seems like there's just a proliferation of all this data in different squares, which is also dangerous because should this data get into the wrong hands, it could pose a risk. A lot of Nigerians need to really calm down and ask themselves, how much am I willing to give the government? Because whether we discuss it or not, we have to admit the fact that given the amount of data that we have available, it's very easy for me to triangulate on any particular individual. So now what protections are there for the citizens? Because given that I can, track your BVN to know how much money you have, I can track your NIN.
And we see that happening already. People now, I don't know how that happens, but someone said A colleague did say that someone, I think it was his BVN that was read to him, and he was sort of shocked because he wasn't sure how that person got that information.
Yeah, and further than that, with that information, people can access where your money is in what banks and know exactly how much you do have. Now you have a case where I can also track your frequently dialed numbers using your NIN. So it allows the government so much power to map out any individual. Now, let's hope that doesn't get into the wrong hands, because it does mean you can go after political opponents. So it's a question of what are they doing with this data? Now, is this data just being held by the telcos? Does the NIMC have the infrastructure to hold on to this data, to protect it, and to keep it in such a way that it doesn't leak out? Those are very important questions. Which,
absolutely, and I think that's the worry. First, for security, people feel like you already have enough of my information. This is just too much. For I mean, you have it on the platform, even the voters card, and there is also now a call that if we harmonize all of this, perhaps we do not need the voters card. Perhaps all we need is just a Nin-Sim card that we will get, identification card that we'll get, and that's enough for every other thing. Do you think that at this point, federal government should be thinking of doing away with the voters card? Because right now we're still registering people for their PVC. That at some point, all you need should just be the Nin-Sim card, not even driver's license, nothing, but just that card.
I think when we get to the point where we have the infrastructure to keep all that data safely in one place and make it readily available, because I don't know if you've tried to register a SIM, there are times where you try, the NIN is not working, NIN something is not working. So we have all those issues to deal with. So I think it's very important that before we put everything in one pot, let's make sure that the actual data is being collected. But also, I think it's good to consider the fact that obviously there's a lot of insecurity in the country right now.
Absolutely.
And so every little that can help should be taken advantage of. And if this NIN will help keep us more secure, then why not?
Absolutely. We'll see how this plays out in the long run and how people respond to this new directive by the federal government. Thank you so much for talking to us, Public Affairs Analyst Dapo Adaramewa.
Thank you.